Alright, today we're going to do some Kermits. I just started doing these actually, but they're really easy to catch on. If you already know your chirps and you already got your flares down, you just combine 2 chirps and 1 flare, but the 2 chirps are half as long as the flare. So it's going to be a motion like this. Alright, so it's going to be like, so the chirp motion is like this. Right? There's 2 and then a flare. So, alright, so it's doing just like that. Now there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's 3 major ways. One way is to make them all about the same height. That means the chirp is the same height, the 2 chirps and the flare is the same height. Or you can make, it's a lot easier and more natural to make the flare twice as long, so like this. So in that scenario, I'm making the flare twice as long, and the 2 chirps. So those 2 chirps, I'm going to go from this point to this point, and then the flare, I'm going to click at that same point, but I'm going to go all the way to here. So like that. So I went from here to here twice, and the click was right there, and then the next click on the flare is right there again, and then on the way back the flare was there. So the flare was going from here to here. Or you can do the flare even within here, so like that, so it's much smaller. So that's going to make the flare a lower pitch. So, and when I do it here, the pitch could be the same as this one. So it's like, you see? And then we start going faster. You see? You see that? So, let's see how fast I can go. Let's do a speed test. Alright, here we go. Alright, so the underlying scratch is this is just going. So that's the underlying baby scratch. So alright, so you see that? So I'm going to start off slow and go fast. You see that? Alright. I got a wide angle lens on, that's why it's kind of blurry over here and blurry over here. If you're wondering why it's blurry in the extremities, right? Alright. So with the Kermit Skratch, it's basically just going to be 2 chirps and a flare. And the underlying baby scratch motion is like this. So that's 2 babies that are twice as slow as the baby that's going to be for the flare. So that's just going to go. Alright, so that's just a chirp, chirp, and then a flare. Alright, so like that. So we're going to start off really slow. We're going to start off right here, from here to here. You see that? That's the 2 chirps. And then the flare, we're going to go here, we're going to click there, but then we're going to keep going. So, and then on the way back, we're going to click here. Alright, so it's... So that's one way you can do it. You can make the flare twice as tall as the 2 chirps. But there's 2 other ways you could do it. You can make them all equally the same size, or you could make it you can make the chirps actually smaller, and that's the way I have it listed on the matrix, where the second chirp is actually a little bit shorter, goes shorter of a distance, doesn't go to the starting point again, like the first chirp. And that's just so you could be able to do it faster. because any scratch that you can do going back to the starting point, you could also do it by going by not going back to the starting point and making it go a little bit faster. But chirps, people like the sound of it. A really good chirp, you can hear the very start of the sound where there's no audio. So that's what a good clean chirp. Because if you're in the sound like this, that's a chirp too, but it sounds a lot different. Like, you know, but this kind of chirp sounds a lot cleaner. Notice that? So it's both the same thing, but this is way cleaner than. But if you're going really fast, you might be able to go faster like this. You know, because if you don't have time to go all the way back to the starting point. All right, so. Alright, just a little speed test. Let's do a little speed test. Alright, let's test. Here we go. So you see, notice my hands moving the same speed the whole time. It's just going like that. So, you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see? So, just going like that. So it's a continuous motion. So it's a continuous motion with your left hand, but the right hand, remember, is different. It's going. Alright. And I'm not. In none of my videos, I'm never going to actually use like Final Cut or the software to actually speed up my scratches. All these scratches are being sped up naturally by my actual hand, because, you know, a lot of videos you see people are speeding it up. But, you know, shout out to all the other people making those videos too where they speed it up. But sometimes you can't, things that are being sped up in videos, you actually can't do those scratches because the hand can only go so fast, the human hand. But I've seen some really fast scratches out there, you know. But most DJs have their limit of how fast their fastest transform can go, or their fastest flare, their fastest spare flare. And this is kind of called a spare flare, really, because, you know, when you're going a flare that's as fast as you can possibly go, people call them spare flares from DJ Spare. So it's like that's just a fast flare, which is. Alright, so then you add the fast chirps to the fast flare, and it's the Kermit. So those are just chirps, and then the flare. So yep, see, I switched to fresh, but you see? So that's it right there. That's the Kermit. And shout out to Alex from S Notation, Alex Sonnenfeld, for breaking down the Kermit for me, explaining it to me, because, you know, his videos are really important. You should go check those out, and I'll put a little link right here, right at the bottom of the screen. You see? Alright, let's switch back to the ah sound. So we're going to go real slow. Alright, go real slow. Alright, so remember, we gotta have your chirps down and your flares down. So we'll just do chirps by themselves. See? A Those are chirps. Just kind of started going into scribbles and started messing up at the end. But yeah, those are chirps. Alright, and then your flares. Remember, the flare is going to be twice as slow as the chirp. So, and by twice as slow, I mean I'm talking about the right hand movement, or if you're doing it with your left hand, the left hand if you're doing it on the other side. But your scratch hand movement is going to be twice as slow for the flare on the second one. So, and then, all right. So it's going baby, 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 baby. All right, and it's going to go the waka waka. Now we're going to do that again, and now I'm going to focus on these. So I'm going to start here, starting point. I'm going to put the chirp clicks here. It's going to be at the top of the wave, so, and then back, and then back, and then a flare. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go from here to here. I'm going to put a click right in the middle point, and then the same thing on the way back, from here to here, and then a click right at the middle point. So. Alright, so remember it again. So we're going to go from here to here twice, and the click is going to be right there. So, and then we're going to go from here to here and put a click in the middle, and then from here to here and the click in the middle. Alright, but you could do the same thing just within this. Like I was saying, you know, another style, you can just go. You see? So that flare is twice as lower pitched than that flare that was going for this longer period of time. So now we're doing the flare just within this point, so the click is going to happen right there, basically. So it's going the two chirps and then the flare. I'm going to click right there in the middle. So, alright, so now we're going to start out slow and see how fast we can go. But notice this sounds very different than if you just alternate flares and chirps. If you alternate flares and chirps, it'll sound like this. Like, so like. So notice how that sounds different. That's a whole different scratch. That's a flare and a chirp being alternated. It's a different combo. Now we're gonna do a little improv that's just flares and chirps. All flares and chirps, just improv. So remember, the Kermit is two chirps followed by a flare that's twice as long. But then I'm going to alternate those and do a bunch. But I'm going to start off with flares first, because it's easier for me to warm up with flares to kind of go into a chirp. Alright, so those are all just chirps and flares. Now we'll see what the Kermit sounds like on a snare. So you notice how the snare is a much shorter sample, so I have to go a very, very small amount, because like with that ah sound I could go really far, but now that I'm doing the snare, I'm going to go this really small amount, so watch. So we're going to go with my finger right there, lined up with that, so. See, so that's what it sounds like faster. So let's do it slow again. All right. And that can really help you if you're doing some drum scratching. You want to throw that into the drum scratch, like. You see? Like that.